Fight fans, buckle up. The first face-off told the story before a single word landed. Jake Paul stood over Gervonta Tank Davis by what looked like a head, more face to chest than face to face, and the camera loved every second of it. This isn't a novelty stare-down with headgear and charity rounds. In Miami on November 14, they'll box 10 3-minute rounds with 12-ounce gloves at a maximum of 195 pounds, with judges at ringside to score it if it goes the distance. It's still an exhibition under Florida sanctioning, so no result touches either man's professional record, but the format is real enough that somebody has to solve real problems. For Paul, that means proving his pacing and straight shots can corral a smaller, faster southpaw without getting punished on exits. For Tank, it's the riddle of carrying speed, timing, and power up into a weight class he's never had to command. If his power scales, the size gap is a prop. If it doesn't, those extra ounces and the glove size turn every entry into a risk that must be timed perfectly. Records won't change in the database. Reputations will. Size versus speed. Who solves it over 10 threes? Drop your winner plus method for Jake Paul versus Tank Davis and tell me if the 195-pound, 12-ounce exhibition setup helps Paul or Tank more. Then hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next face-off. When Rafael Fiziev fell out of the October 11 Rio main event, Charles Oliveira lit a fire under the lightweight division, accusing would-be replacements of posting brave words and then telling the UFC they couldn't make weight, couldn't make the date, or couldn't make the call. Into that noise stepped Diego Lopes with a calm answer. If the promotion needs him, he'll move to lightweight and face Do Bronx in Brazil.
The Fiziev and Charles fight was dropped, right? In the higher division, we've already seen athletes taking fights in different categories to make a super fight. If the UFC calls you, hey, Digao, let's move up a division and take on Charles Do Bronco on October 11th in Rio de Janeiro to save the event, a super fight. Would you be up for it?
Sure, why not? Why not? Like, of course I'd be up for it. Especially because Charles is a legend, right? A legend of Brazilian sports, and definitely, like I've been saying, man, I'll never turn down any fight, you know? If FC thinks I'm the right guy to fight him and calls me, definitely, of course, no problem, no second thoughts.
But is it something that interests you in the sense of, well, would you be up for it, but it could come from you, from your manager, like, wow, what a cool opportunity that just came up, is it something you'd be interested in? Like, I'm not interested right now, precisely because of that, right? We just won a really good fight. We're in a good position to fight for the belt, so I don't think it would come from us, you know? Like, we're cool with that. I've already talked to the manager. We want the belt in our division, but of course, if FC calls us and says, hey, they're looking at you, let's go, no problem.
He didn't bluster, didn't bargain, just acknowledged Oliveira's status as a legend at home and said he wouldn't think twice if the call came. It lands differently because Lopes just stopped John Silva at Noche UFC and still has an obvious featherweight title lane. Saying yes here creates risk without derailing his 145 aspirations if it goes sideways. It's also exactly the sort of response that makes Oliveira's critique feel aimed, not scattershot. Fans in Brazil get a hero on the poster and a surging, fearless foil. The company gets a headliner with story on both sides of the marquee, and the "I'll fight anyone" chorus has to decide whether to keep singing or step aside.
Fala minha família, todo mundo já sabe que meu luto do UFC Rio caiu. Só que olha só, não cai nesse papinho desses caras que estão aí. Ah, eu vou, eu vim, aquilo, porque o UFC tá batendo lá e todos eles falam, ah, não há tempo pra bater o peso. Ah, não dá pra mim, então esse negocinho de ficar postando na internet pra ganhar hype, esquece. Esquece porque tá ficando feio. Vi um aí colocando não sei o que, o outro falando não sei o que, só que na hora que o UFC liga, o que vocês falam? Ah, não dá, deu dor de barriga, quebrei o dedo, não sei, machuquei a mão. Então para com esse bagulho que é feio. Eu quero lutar no UFC Rio, eu que pedi essa luta, meu adversário machucou, aí mais uns 10 apareceu aí falando que ia lutar. Aí até agora, sempre quando o UFC liga, pô, vamos lutar? Não, não dá. Então para com esse bagulho porque tá feio. Quer ganhar fama? Faz outro bagulho. Não fica com ideinha colocando que quer lutar comigo sendo que é mentira, beleza?
Do Bronx added clarity to the matchmaking puzzle by drawing a few hard lines.
A bit before we start recording here, I saw that Mateus Ganecharo posted the Corinthians anthem on his story. Of course, making a healthy joke like that, right? meaning I could go along with that. And it's what you said, if it's a Mateus Ganro in life, it's the opposite, right? Because I did EV in Striker.
Completely different from the game. Exactly.
Like, it's a good game for me, because it's a good game for me, because it's doing the westing and grappling part of it, but completely from the game I've been training for like a month, 2 months, you know? So, like, it's a lot of understanding, it's a lot of playing. And then it was like I said to Diego yesterday, and I'll tell you here now. I said, man, actually, I just want to keep my head free. Like, I'll tell you something. If you see, I'm a little dirty, I'm riding a horse, you know? Saturday and Sunday I went horseback riding so I could, you know, clear my head a bit, and I said, dude, I'm just talking to you. If you see, I'm not interviewing anyone. I just recorded with you now, and I told you, man, I'm talking to you, you know what I mean. On Monday, we'll sit down and hope FC has a name or you have a name so you can tell me something. And as for me, I just want to clear my head. Monday at 10 a.m. I have my first training session, at 9:30 a.m. I have my first training session, and then I'll train at 9:30, then I train at 11, and then at lunchtime we'll sit down and talk. Let's hope things fall into place.
Mateusz Gamrot doesn't make sense to him on short notice because the stylistic shift would throw months of camp architecture into a wrestling-first labyrinth, a bad bargain when you're trying to headline at home. Manuel Torres doesn't fit because name recognition matters in a Rio main event. As for Benoit Saint-Denis and Renato Moicano, Oliveira says he was ready for either, but both ultimately declined the window. None of this reads as diva posture. It's the math any champion-level fighter does in the last mile of a training cycle. Switch a southpaw for a wrestler or a technician for a brawler, and risk multiplies while reward stays flat. Oliveira's insistence on the right dance partner isn't about fear. It's about honoring a camp, a city, and a legacy in a slot that will be replayed for years. If that partner is Lopes, everything aligns, stakes, style, and a crowd that understands the courage on both sides. Ahead of Cyril Gain, Tom Aspinall's training updates keep pointing at the same thesis. It isn't just that he can shoot, it's that he arrives balanced, joins his hips without overcommitting, and builds frames that free his hands as soon as the fight hits the floor. Against Gain, who does his best work turning the cage into open highway and making pursuers pay for reaching. That conversion rate is everything. The first clean connection has to become a residence. Stick, turn, trap a thigh, run the feet, and make the geometry disappear. What separates Aspinall from most big men is how fast those choices stack. He doesn't look hurried because the decisions are already made before his knee touches the mat. If that timing travels on fight night, the striking chess match becomes a subplot to top time, rides, and minutes that feel heavier than they look. Not every headline is blood and belts. Paulo Costa and Darren Till played along with MMA gurus Black Ops 2 Zombies Invitation, spinning a throwaway prompt into easy buzz. It's low stakes and high signal. Two elite-level talkers who know how to stay in the scroll without forcing fight news that isn't ready. Not every day has to be a call-out. Sometimes being funny, self-aware, and a little chaotic keeps the room warm until the paper's ready to sign. Drop your read on Jake versus Tank. Does speed conquer size over 10 threes? If you're the matchmaker, do you lock Oliveira versus Diego Lopes or chase a pure lightweight instead? Hit subscribe and tap the bell. Your takes, your card, let's build it.